Welcome. It's very much a yeah, sure, yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, very good. How you doing?
Good, good. Yeah, this is sort of a trial event. We were just again, we're with Trophy AI. We've been doing some AI stuff in the Rocket League space, and we just decided to do an event. We've had a couple of previous ones with Rocket League help. The goal of this one though is for anybody who's used Trophy, if they have any questions about their Rocket League data or really any questions related to Rocket League and data, we were just sort of curious to see what questions people would ask and try to answer whatever we can on our side. If you've been using the app, we will be able to see some of your data and can maybe dig a little bit deeper than the stuff we've got currently released now.
So I'm been following the program Trophy. I've been following for a while now,
So,
mainly on like email, because long time ago, kind of like a year and a half ago, I received an email from the program, like how it was going to be created, how it was going to help the players, and in the different aspects of the game
yeah.
and how you can participate on it. So since then I subscribed in the program, and this is funny, but I never downloaded the app because I never knew it existed.
Oh,
And
really?
I was kind of lost. Yeah, I was absolutely lost till like 3 days ago. I received an email inviting me to the Discord channel, this one right here,
Oh,
and I joined. And well, I'm basically fresh meat. I pretty much don't know a lot about how is it going on here in the channel right now.
yeah. No, that's awesome. That's sort of funny that yeah, you were just like following our marketing emails or promotional emails for a while without actually knowing that we were out as a product. But did you say that you had a chance to download the app a couple of days ago, or have you used the app yet?
No, absolutely never. Like I figured out that the app was out. I figured out the app was out like 2 weeks ago, around
Okay,
that.
yeah.
But I haven't downloaded it
Yeah, I can show you. Can you see my screen share there?
yet. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, so it's basically like in the app, we've got a Rocket League section in there. There's a few things. There's training paths, which I won't go into deeply, but basically, we've got a bunch of different like trainings that you can do on specific topics within the app. The main stuff that we were planning on talking today was sort of the AI game analysis type thing. So, the idea of how this works is you can either, like, do you save your replay files usually when you're playing Rocket League?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that means like if you want to get your data into Trophy, it's pretty easy. You can launch the app and go to the screen here, and then there's a button to manually upload the Rocket League replays. So if you know the place on your computer where they're saved, you can even do like Control A, select them all, and then upload the replays through this. And there's also the app's got built into it an auto save function. So like if you go under gameplay settings, you can actually change some settings to make Trophy automatically record your replays and upload them. But once they get uploaded, you get a web app. We've got a web app with it. Let's see, I'm not sharing the right thing here. Yeah, so on the web app, we offer a bunch of analysis on a whole sort of assortment of different stats and analysis that we've got in Rocket League. And a big part of what I was doing here today was basically wondering, are there things that, we've got a bunch of stuff that we've came up with that we think that might be useful for people that we're showing now on the analysis website. But, there's a lot of stuff that we don't show here. And a big thing we were curious in is like, are there questions that you've got about your data or anybody has about their data that aren't answered by the plots or the charts in this web app? But I guess again, if you haven't used the web app a whole lot, there's probably you wouldn't have had a big chance to explore. But have you been playing Rocket League for a while?
Well, not exactly for a while. I will say around 2 years, almost three now.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
And it's getting harder sometimes because like there's this point of the game where you get like this high level, but there is some moments that you like kind of like go a little bit forward with mechanics and keep going into ranks. Like that seems not gonna say impossible, of course not,
Yeah.
but really hard.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, what rank are you at now?
So right now, I'm not even gonna mention because it's a shame, but used to be in Diamond 3. Right
Okay. Yeah.
now, oh, not that far, Plat 3.
Okay. Yeah. No shame. You're better than me.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been not playing for a while. Actually, I was playing just right now, and I saw the event and I jumped on it.
Oh, fair. Yeah. 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 Are there? So, do you feel like you mentioned that you sort of get to the point where you get a little stuck, or we hear that a lot. Like people sort of when they hit between platinum to diamond, some it's even gold. It starts getting a lot harder to rank up. Like, do you have much of a sense of the things that you would need to work on to get better, or are you just like, I want something to figure out what I need to do and tell me what to do?
So hey,
Hey.
pretty much when it comes to the game, like there's a lot of aspects that I notice that they're kind of like the same thing when I try to like progress, like consistency with the things that I already know how to do, like very well. That's kind of like an aspect that is getting me from behind because there's sometimes I don't know. Let me put you an example. I'm in a game. I'm getting involved with a wall, going for an air dribble, which is very easy. I can do it very repeatedly times, but when it comes to do it very consistently in a game, that's kind of hard. And then making progress on mechanics like, for example, flip resets or I don't know, double touches, all like sort of things. When it comes to make progress in those mechanics or even try to learn them, that's the part that I just get behind it. I don't even try.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've got some really cool stuff in the app for learning mechanics. We're in the process. We don't have every mechanic, like Flip Resets one that we're still working on getting in there. We don't have that one yet, but we got a lot of tutorials around different mechanics. How do I get out of, oh, let me see. Yeah, if I just sort of go back to I can even go under all mechanics. So we've got some of the more beginner ones like wave dash and curve dash. There's half flips in there. We've got speed flip, zap dash as well. Uh, but yeah, and within these lessons, they sometimes they take a little while to launch, but they'll give you a breakdown of what you need to do to learn the mechanic. There's also a cool feature in it where you can press the P key on your keyboard, and that will make a pro demo go, so you can see how a pro would make a given shot or do something in a shot pack.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely check out the app. I see we've got a couple of new people in. I'll just sort of give the general idea of the talk for them and see if we've got any more questions. But yeah, I appreciate you popping on to chat, and it's always interesting to hear like how people found out about Trophy, the different ways that customers find us, and how the journey they take to get here.
Nah, please. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'll definitely download it because yeah, I've been trying to get help like around everything, trying to make progress, and this can be like a lot of help.
Yeah, awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank
yeah.
you. Thank you. Yeah, so I see we've got a couple more people on. I guess just generally, the idea of this meeting was that for people who are new to Trophy, we've got a bunch of different analytics that we run in Rocket League. We've also got an app that has some coaching systems built into it. We've got this web app now where you can see a lot of different stats on your gameplay in Rocket League. We break down a lot of different aspects of the game and the data. But what we're wondering is, what are other things that we don't have up here that people are interested in learning from their data, or just other questions that people might have for us in general. So this is sort of like an ask me anything type, or an ask me anything about your data, or if nobody has data specific questions, feel free to ask anything about Trophy and how we work. Yeah, I see we've got another request to speak.
Yo,
Hey.
so I've used Trophy for like 2 weeks now.
Yep.
It's been pretty good. Like it's got me up like nearly a rank bracket
Oh
just
wow.
from the analytics that I've got from it. The only thing that I'd like to see a bit more is like when I look on like the trends that I see, it's like sometimes it's a little bit like weird in how how it shows what I need to be working on. Like when it, in the bits where it says you're above your rank, you're below your rank average in some of these bits. It's like I don't know which one's better, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes being below is better, sometimes being above, I don't know. So that's that one thing. Then also, like when you see like a trend, and then how you can improve it, like almost like a bit more in detail kind of thing. Because like sometimes it mentions it, but not always. If you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sort of curious, like, were there specific stats that you found helpful when you mentioned that you felt like we were able to help you get up a rank bracket? Like, were there any key things that you were able to learn from Trophy that you thought helped you get there?
So like, I think definitely the ones about like your positioning, those kind of things, like in the like tactics kind of side, the aerials as well. Like those were all really useful, and saying how well you actually did in that kind of game. Those are really useful personally. Like also I thought like the play styles thing as well.
Yeah.
At like the right end of it, I think that was something that quite helped, because you could see when I look back in replay reviews, I could see what different play styles looked like, if you see what I mean. And it shows you different things like your boost efficiency, stuff like that. Like obviously very good. Like say for me, like my aggression's quite high, but then my offense is quite low. So it's like that. It tells me I need to work a bit better on passing that aggression to offensive stuff. So like I think that's really useful for telling me what I need to work on in that kind of sense.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. Yeah, I think there's within the, like you mentioned in the trends, sometimes it's a little bit confusing, and some of them are even, they're sometimes a little confusing to us in some respects, because it's hard to, like what Rocket League, as I'm sure you know, is a very complicated game, and sometimes there's like things that might be generally better, like you might be generally better to be faster, but then sometimes, and a thing that we hear a lot from the users is that, hey, in this game there were some very specific circumstances, or maybe my opponent was just going crazy, so I felt like I needed to play more defensive, and then because I'm playing more defensive, I slowed down my game. So it's hard to, we're definitely in the process of sort of changing around this web app a little bit, making it so that, like you said, I know a lot of people really want those actionable takeaways where we can be just like, hey, I really think you should work on this, and those are the most important things to work on, and if you work on those, we really expect that you'll see improvements.
Yeah, because for me personally, like I'm a Champ 1 player, like who pushed into Diamond 3 and like sometimes pushed Champ 2 kind of area.
Yeah.
But then like the thing, like say on here, it says like in one of them, which I've got up on my screen, is like demos taken, and on the average are between Grand Champ 2 and Grand Champ 3, for example. So like, but then obviously it's working out how other areas I can then get to be like that kind of same level, because I think when you start thinking about the other thing, you forget other things, and so it's like almost trying to work out how the AI can help you with that kind of thing a bit more, because for me, like also like, and say with some of these things like when it says above average for all ranks, that kind of stuff, I think like it give you more kind of detail on that kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because some things, like I find one thing I've noticed with demos in particular is there's not so much a big trend over ranks, because basically as you rank up, you're going to get better at demoing people, but at the same time everybody else is going to get better at avoiding demos, so you sort of, there's not huge trends, if I remember right when I look back at the data. Like it's not like you always get more demos as you rank up, or you always get less as you rank up, because it's sort of a thing where we see similar stuff even in terms of like goals and saves. It's not necessarily true that like higher ranks or lower ranks will make more goals. Like obviously the higher ranks are better at making goals, but it's also everybody else they're playing against is better at making saves. So sometimes some of those numbers, what we see in the data isn't 100%. What do I do?
Yeah. So another thing like is so like the assists kind of thing. Like when I played quite a bit of 1v1 myself.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I put that into assists, obviously I think sometimes it doesn't obviously I can't get assists in 1v1, so then it just thinks I'm a lower rated player, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's some of that's quite annoying because then it doesn't give me, they can give me like, you know how like when it gives you the top thing, like you need
yeah.
to work on this kind of thing, the key weakness at the top, it gives me that as assists in 1v1,
Uh,
whereas
and
I'd
you're
rather
just
have
like,
something
yeah,
else
that's
stat.
yeah. I mean,
So that'd be
that's one
cool.
that we might actually be able to get fixed up pretty quick. I mean, with us, it's sort of for now, where the products, especially, we're still in like an early alpha mode. We're not 100% polished or anything, and we've sort of let 1v1s be. It's like sort of supported by us, but it's definitely 1v1s tend to be like the analysis is broken for 1v1s in a few places, so we might be able to see about like that's a very good and probably pretty easy to fix example that you mentioned. Like we shouldn't be telling you
Yeah.
anything to do with assists, and we have a lot of analytics like that. Like we've got analytics around like distance to teammate and other things
Mm.
related to
Yeah.
you and a teammate. So yeah, it's definitely very
Yeah.
much makes sense. And I know it's like I think it was sort of some of the people who we talked to earlier on were very big on twos and threes and sort of said that ones isn't that important. But I've definitely realized like ones is pretty important, and also for people who are trying to learn, I find ones is very good because sometimes you'll pay for any mistakes you make in ones a lot more than you
Mm.
do because nobody's there to cover for you.
Yeah, like for me, 1v1 is massive because it gives me the option to learn better. Like it got me up rank brackets quite easily. So then having the bit of the AI where I can benefit my 1v1s, which will then jump up my 2v2s even higher. So obviously, for me, massively, I think that 1v1s would be incredible to have like more detail in it because then you can then it'll in turn help your 2v2 as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We'll definitely note that as something to when we're doing our prioritization that we always every few weeks we sort of take a look at the priorities and figure what to bump up and what to bump down. But I do definitely agree that 1v1s are you can learn a lot from playing the ones, and we don't have. And I don't think it would be a huge effort on our side to at least clean up some of the analytics that clearly don't apply to those scenarios. Oh,
Yeah.
I see in the
Alright.
chat my fellow data scientist Rob just posted a plot looking at some data on the goal distribution. So yeah, it's very much like we were saying. There's a blue trend line saying that the average goals per game is like just under two, pretty much across ranks. Because again, you're getting better scorers, but you're also getting better goalies.
Yeah. Because another thing, like especially around that goal kind of thing, is where like in some games, like especially when you're in solo queue, like I am quite a lot,
Yep.
is I won't always go for goals because I'll be trying to play as that good teammate who's giving the assists, giving the passes, letting my teammate go, and almost like having back on defense. So then we don't get scored on as much because like that's a massive thing within like 2v2 is especially when you're solo queuing and you don't know what your teammate's gonna do. You can't do it as much. So like when I get the goal thing, it says like I don't score too many goals, even though I'm making lots of opportunities for them. It's just we're still winning lots of games. Like I think in the past 50 games, I've won like 35 of them. So it's like I've very much won more of them, but it's still showing that the goals are quite low for my rank, even though we're still winning because of the like the distribution of me giving the ball to my teammates, then I can cover net if you see what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like, and we're definitely trying now to incorporate play styles into the advice a lot more because that's one thing I've noticed in my own games as well. Like, big thing for me, I've noticed the recent tournaments I've won in twos have been ones, at least the solo queue ones that I've played have been ones where I've had a teammate who just goes crazy with offense, and I'm just like, okay, I can't trust this guy to play any defense. I'm gonna be the defender and let him go crazy. And you're right. In some games, like if your teammate's playing a certain way, then that's really going to influence what's the best thing for you to do. And it's something that we're still thinking on how to best reflect that in the app.
Yeah, yeah. thank you very much. I think that's all from me, but I really appreciate your time for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, really appreciate talking to you too. And if you come up with any questions later on, feel free to either drop them in the chat or pop back on voice, or leave a message in either of the Discords whenever. And we do. Somebody from the team usually keeps a pretty regular eye on feedback, either from the Rocket League Help Discord or from Trophy's public-facing Discord too. So definitely, we always love to hear feedback and hear what people think and what people want to see in the product.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, man.
Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, see you later. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, so it was a nice little chat there, and again, sort of highlighting that one thing we could work on a little bit more is some of the 1v1 analysis. And it seems like a lot of what people so far that I've heard that people are wanting to see is not so much lower level stuff in the data, but it's more so, again, which is really what we're trying to solve here at Trophy, is just tell me what I need to focus on to get better or to rank up in the ranks. And we're very much actively developing a bunch of new cool features that will hopefully make that very clear and concrete what we think the best steps are for you to take to rank up. I don't know if anybody else has any questions either related to data stuff or anything in particular. It could be, how's your experience with Trophy been? It could be we've got a couple of our data scientists here standing by live too. So if there's any questions you'd like to know about your data that you can't get online, that aren't available in the web app anywhere now, we've got a couple of data scientists standing by who might be able to answer some questions about your data if you're a Trophy user. I was sort of, in preparation for this, I was basically doing a little bit of digging into my own data and trying to come up with some potentially interesting things. This was one, like, I don't know if anybody would find, how do I share this correctly? Just one sec. It's very wrong sized. Yeah. So this is an example of an interesting chart that we had. This is basically just my boost, and this is sort of me visualizing how fill my boost has been over an entire match. This is something where, again, it's saying, and this is by frequency, like technically this number here is how many frames that I was at that level, but generally you just want to take away the shape. So sort of one thing that jumps out to me here is that I'm spending a lot of time at very low boosts. That's anywhere between like 0 to 10 boost. I'm more at that level of boost than anything else, and this was just a random game of mine that I pulled out. But one thing I'd see here is that, I spend a lot of time at no boost, quite a bit amount of time at full or near full boost. Usually in the data we'll see a spike here because this is around 33 boost, which you'll spawn with or what you come back with after being demoed. But it's just one of the examples of a type of plot that we don't have online now that we could add something like this in fairly easily if it was something that people thought would be valuable. It's really, we're really interested in like the types of things that people want to know about their data, and just again figuring out on our side what can we do to answer questions that users might have, and then how can we use that to build new cool features into our web app or new cool features into other stuff that Trophy's working on. Oh, I see we got another graph in the chart. So yeah, this was a comparison of speed, this chart that Rob has shared here in the chat, and this is, my Rocket League username is BobDoleBobD, and Mega Munch is one of our coworkers, Scott, who's on the call as well, or I guess he's our coworker Mega Munch on this call. But it was sort of one of the interesting things we noticed when we looked at this plot was, sorry, I used real names, I can't get in trouble with that. Just kidding. Yeah, one interesting thing we noticed when we looked at this plot was just how correlated our speeds are. Like this game here, we were both pretty high. Over here, we were fairly low. Again, low, relatively high here. And it's sort of part of what jumped out at us from looking at this was just the idea that, which is probably obvious to a lot of people, is that some games are just generally a lot slower pace. some games can be a lot faster paced. And it was sort of interesting that it's not that one of us plays consistently slower and the other one plays consistently fast, but it seemed like both of our speeds were going up and down, more not 100% in line with each other, but again, sort of generally matches where one was high, the other one would tend to be a little high on speed. So that was an interesting thing we looked at in data. Boost heat maps are great. Thank you, Dev. Yeah, and the boost maps are, speaking of Mr. Mega Munch, that was the boost heat maps are a feature that he worked on and are very, very cool. I'll give a general demo of the website. I think we've only got a couple of people who aren't trophy employees in here, but I can, I'll just talk randomly about our Rocket League stuff for a while, but I encourage anybody to drop questions. This is our boost heat map, so we've sort of got multiple ways of looking at boost. We can see just a general heat map that shows where everybody is getting their boost. Like this person here is very focused on those two pads there. I guess I hit these ones a lot. My teammate was getting a few of those ones. I'm clearly not a great booster here, I don't think, although it's more obvious when we look at the chains. So if I see the chains are a really cool idea, because they sort of visualize one thing we've noticed that helps people. Sometimes the thing that people miss in Rocket League is being diligent with taking good paths that cover a lot of small boosts when they're going across the field. And sometimes if people are overly favoring the big boosts on the side, you'll end up going out of play to get a big boost when you could have stayed in the play and collected a bunch of small boosts when you're going from point A to point B if you take the right path. So that's why Scott had built, or Mega Munch had built out some of these boost chain visualizations, so you can get a sense of where you're doing good or bad at getting boost chain together. Yeah, and within here we've even got some info on different types of. So some of these chains are like well known by the Rocket League community. And they've even got names for them. And we've got some info here, just again trying to give a little bit more context for why these paths might be useful, just to again help people understand boost pathing a little bit more. Position. Oh. Location Z. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Basically what I take away from here is that I'm pretty much always on the ground. It's probably more interesting for people who spend more time in the air. Like look at something like, yeah, I think this is time near one side of the field versus the other. So this is sort of I tend to favor these visual breakdowns more. Trophy mention about bumps. Oh, you mean like when you're bumping into other players? Yeah, I don't think if that is what you mean, I don't think we have it in there yet. But you're right that it is definitely, I think with that, there's some things that are easy and there's some that are harder to get out of the data. I think that bumps are definitely one, though, that it's worth doing a little bit more digging to see if we can try to surface them, because you're 100% right. Like, yeah, I've noticed that sometimes, especially if I'm playing against players who I feel are a little bit better than me, sometimes I'll just try to get physical with them, and I find I can make progress that way sometimes, just knocking them out of plays. Yeah, another thing that we're working on, we're hoping to get it in the web app maybe within the next month to 2 months, will be more moment-to-moment stuff. So we've got a lot of really cool stuff around stats and trends that show, again, like a snapshot of a single game or sort of a more zoomed-out view of trends over multiple games. But one thing that we've heard over and over that's still missing are the ability to pick out specific moments in the game and give some context to those. And I think bumps might be a good example of that, because there are some times that I know that I've made like a really critical bump where if I wouldn't have bumped somebody out of the way, yeah, I feel like they would have scored. So sometimes you can get a good bump on somebody and really either mess up an opponent's ability to score or to save. Uh, yeah, how long will be an alpha, beta versus a full release? I'd say maybe very broadly 6 months to a year ish, maybe a little shorter. I think it's sort of depends on how fast we can go and also how fast it gets to the point where we feel like it's polished. But yeah, I'd say anywhere in the like couple of months to a year frame, maybe. Hard to say exactly. You can check our rate, like, so in Trophy AI we are the main thing that we've got that people pay money for currently is we've got a racing AI. Is it so we don't like again Rocket League probably won't be priced exactly the same. Yeah, we support iRacing, F1 and ACC are the main racing sims that we're in. So we've got our racing products a little bit more popular, a little bit more polished, and a little bit more smoother. So that one's out of alpha mode now, and we do have a paid offering for that. So this is roughly anywhere from like 750 USD a month to we've got higher tiered plans on that. But yeah, that'll sort of be worked out in the near to semi near future, I guess. How we will look at monetizing in Rocket League. But yeah, if you're into iRacing, that's definitely a more polished version of Trophy we've got for iRacing. We've got in iRacing, we've got a AI agent that it'll basically talk to you as you're going around the track. So you can go do one lap. When you do your first lap, it'll give you some general guidance for a track. Then in subsequent laps, it'll give you advice like, hey, on this corner that's coming up, try to brake 15 meters later or brake a little bit later. We do a bunch of different analytics in racing. Like we've got turn-in points, braking technique, speeds. There's a bunch of different analytics that go into the agent, but we've got a really nice voice coaching experience where you can just go out, hop on, drive some laps, and your voice coach will be there giving you a few key tips for things that you should really prioritize working on. What do I want to ramble about? I mean, the one thing that you might not have seen, I don't know if you would have seen our experimental Discord server we've got. I don't know if I've got a good thing I can show for, yeah, I guess I can show the recaps channel, but basically we've got a experimental Discord server set up where we're prototyping a Discord bot. Basically how that will work is there are various settings you can configure it to, but the idea is either when you play a match of Rocket League, you can either set it to make your recaps public into a Discord channel so that everybody can see how you're doing, get a little sense of what you're working on and see that progress. Or there's also a feature to make it delivered by DM as well. But we're really working on tightening this up and focusing in on what are those key wins that you need to do, and then some suggestions on how you can actually action those and use that to get better. Another one that, similarly how I showed that boost, the distribution plot for the boost, I think a distribution plot of distance to ball is also pretty useful because, again, it gives you the sense of not just an average number out, but you get more of a sense of how much are you very close to the ball. Yeah, I can probably get GPT to help with that. Let's see. No, I can't easily because I don't have the ball there. I guess maybe if I've got a little time, I could in theory. Let's see. All right, so yeah, that's a respectable distance to the ball that I tend to be. And it's hard to say, and usually the general process that we might do when understanding what a good what would mean that this chart is good or bad is we could look at people in the higher ranks and tend to get a sense of, again, I'm fairly low rank, but what would this plot look like for others at higher ranks? So this seems to sort of, interestingly, there's a big jump off here, which I probably actually want to dig in a little deeper on this. So it seems like I'm spending, whatever this distance is to the ball, which I believe that's like a little between maybe a little over a third of the arena's length and difference. I'm often that far away, but then there's a big drop off here, which is sort of interesting to me. But generally, I mean, I would say that probably it's bad if you have too much weight over here. You don't want to be really far from the ball a lot, I'm assuming. The fact that I'm very near the ball a lot, I might be ball chasing a little too much, but I would never do that. It's a fair point that occasionally I was a massive distance from the ball. I think some of what that is, actually realistically, I can go back and probably for this plot, maybe for this plot actually, it's debatable whether the z distance is interesting or not, or if you just care about the x and y, because sometimes you'll see spikes if the ball like flies up into the corner, way high, you're not going to be near the ball, and maybe somebody hits the ball very hard, you're going to be away from the ball for a little bit. See if we reduce that. Interesting. Really? So, yeah, it didn't seem to change a lot, taking out the Z. So yeah, I'm guessing that's probably shots where somebody just whacked the ball across the court. But there might even be some interesting things in that, like what, in those times if somebody hits the ball so that you're very far away from the ball, if there's even like any sort of analytic or visualization that sort of considers your speed and when you're far away from the ball. It's not a very well-formed thought, but if you could have something, I would say that if I'm very far from the ball, 8,000, I should probably be going pretty fast, or at least trying to get fast to get more into the play, because I'm assuming that when I'm 8,000 away, I'm not in the right place. It could be that it's not my fault that I'm out of position. Again, maybe somebody smashed the ball and it's gone to the other side of the field, but I should probably try to get there pretty quick, or get at least closer to it pretty quick. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining this this time at Rocket League, at Trophy's Rocket League Help demo. Thanks everyone for participating and for the great questions.